Thanks, y'all. I'm live here on Dixon Street where the rain is leaving more than just students trying to stay dry. Thanks to Lainey, right here where I'm standing is where several businesses like Farrell's, Kingfish, Sideways, and Riley's found themselves without their normal recycling bins. Participants started their journey with a passport like this one. Then they were taken through typical challenges faced by refugees, like finding clean water and just staying healthy. That's right. The Walton Family Foundation provided half of the $3.2 million cost of the preservation and gave the second half as an interest-free loan to the city. While my experience granted me asylum in a neighboring country, many refugees are not so lucky. This morning, the farmers market was facing some challenging weather. Now, growers are bracing themselves and their plants for 20-degree temperatures forecasted for tonight. I sat down with the man who motivated thousands of Egyptians for 18 days. The protest that led to their president's resignation.
We don't have any chance even to know where this money is going.
Rami Assam is known as the voice of the Egyptian revolution. His music sparked a movement, and he continues to spread his message: peace and equality.
As a musician, I just found that I have to have a message and have a cause and fight for something, and so being an activist came as a result of being an artist.
Assam uses his music to address issues like inequality, women's and workers' rights, and Egyptian democracy.
We have a region that is growing significantly in different cultures, but we're just not curating to that yet in the musical aspect. So that's been one of my missions here at the Faulkner Center, is how can we diminish those lines of cultural bias through music.
News of Assam's performances drew an audience of Egyptian students. One is Wasim Khalil, a computer science major from Egypt at the U of A.
There is a really good thing, like the sound of revolution, sound saying no, we don't want that anymore, we just want to live in peace, and seeing the culture, the soft skills, the soft power that we have.
Assam says he's happy to be in the States where people can relate to his music about inequality. He encourages people to continue to push for their rights.
Part of the demonstrations is something beyond imagination. It was first time for me to experience the power of the people when they are united for one thing. It's something unstoppable.
Jim Toll founded Lucky Birds Unlimited upon realizing how many neglected parrots there are and the lack of knowledge in proper care.
You can see how he's bald right here. And this is his own doing. He has plucked these feathers out because he'd been stuffed in the closet, he'd been neglected. Nobody's, food and water, that was it. And that was minimal.
Many of the birds in Toll's care are rescues from unfit homes. Toll, lovingly deemed the bird whisperer, certainly has a way with his feathered friends.
I've seen him take a bird that was just biting the living daylights out of him. And probably half an hour later, the bird was just loving on him.
The parrots are well loved by the contributors and the volunteers, and Toll is very much admired by his supporters.
He's the only one really here in Arkansas that does, this, and I've seen some birds in some really, really bad situations, and I'm really glad that we have him to help out.
Lucky Birds Unlimited is a federally recognized nonprofit organization, so that all of the proceeds go directly to a better life for the parrots. Jim Toll's goal is to rescue and rehome as many parrots as he can. He says he hopes to spread awareness that typically domesticated animals aren't the only ones that need rescue from neglect.
Good, here, take this. There's not a clipped wing in this flock. And you don't see anybody stuck in a cage. So that's pretty lucky if you ask me.
Watch your feet. You want to hold one?
So they were... Who wants to hold her?
Oh, me. Oh, my gosh.
James Morgan is one of the veterans that Seven Hills is working to find stable housing.
Live in a tent and hope for the best, They're trying to get me housing today, and it's going to be next week, I hope. That would be great.
He says this is his third or fourth year without a home. Morgan served in the Marine Corps for 3 years as a small arms repairman. Morgan meets the requirements of having served in the military, maintaining a low income, and being homeless or at risk of homelessness.
Catherine Kruger is the director of the Seven Hills Veteran Program. She says people often don't realize the challenges that come with transitioning from active duty back to a civilian lifestyle. Morgan says it's a little easier to be homeless with the help of Seven Hills.
Being a veteran opened some doors. Not all of them, but it opened some. Makes it a little bit easier than if you're not a veteran.
Kruger says success looks different for every person they help.
Success just means that someone is housed and stable and feeling like they're flourishing in their community, whatever that looks like for them.
Thanks to Lainey, right here where I'm standing is where several businesses like Farrell's, Kingfish, Sideways, and Riley's found themselves without their normal recycling bins.
Joel Siemens, a bartender at Kingfish, tells me his job is made harder by the loss of recycling bins just behind the bar.
We're not recycling really at all now because it just makes it way more difficult. So our trash cans get full a lot quicker. So I would even say that it's more difficult now that we don't do it. Because now we have to take out the trash much more often, because it's bottles, cans, and all the regular trash.
Because of residential complaint and private ownership of the bins location, they were removed by the city.
Property owners have the final say in what goes into their property. So when they asked us to remove those containers, we removed them.
Pugh tells me the complaints were of noise and access to the location that caused the removal. There are additional recycling locations on Dixon, but Siemens says it's not realistic to walk to recycle while you have a job and customers to worry about.
If we're getting out at 3 a.m. on a Friday, or busy, or 4 a.m. even if it's super busy, we're not trying to pick through garbage.
6 bins designated for glass recycling are gone, but there is still cardboard recycling available in the same location.
Brian Pugh tells me that the glass was such a major contributor because it is so much heavier than other recyclables. Reporting for UATV, I'm Aubry Tucker. Right behind me is the intersection of University and Center Street. It accounts for 19 accidents between 2011 and 2015. This intersection, along with West and Center Street, both are now 4-way stops because they both have enough traffic to need the extra precaution. Many cars are overlooking the new signs and traffic is backing up a little bit. But our city engineer, Chris Brown, tells me as people adjust to the changes that it'll start to smooth out. He tells me the main goals of the new stop signs are pedestrian access and safety.
Crossings, and we certainly want to be walkable, especially in and around the downtown and the campus area. So
the engineering division is considering adding crosswalks to add that walkability to Fayetteville. That's right, I'm here on campus where we are tobacco-free campus, but this morning I met with Earl Francis Jr. to talk about his ownership of Smooth Vapes and how people are switching from cigarettes to vapes. He jokingly said that he's in business to take himself out of business because so many of his customers are coming in order to quit smoking, but often they're just replacing one habit with another one.
Hello, hello.
That's right, you can see beautiful Old Main just behind me, but what you can't see is all the stuff like this. Confetti and glitter embedded into the grass just at my feet.
If you walk around campus in some of the most cherished locations, you'll probably find litter from graduation photos. Photos of graduates blowing glitter at the camera are widely popular. I saw things like champagne bottles and corks, confetti canisters, and a lot of confetti and glitter. According to the University Facilities Management Department, the small pieces are still litter. Keith Roberts is the Director of Environmental Health and Safety. He says he wants to remind people to pick up after themselves, but using confetti makes that nearly impossible.
Confetti and glitter, how do you clean it up?
It's impossible.
I mean, it's really hard, and it just blows everywhere.
Roberts says it's really in the hands of the students to leave campus better than they found it.
Well, if you love the photo idea and you're really not willing to give it up, you could consider some biodegradable options like blowing birdseed or bubbles into the camera to get that similar effect. For UATV News, I'm Aubry Tucker.